Hello everyone. Hi. Good evening. So,
Next,
Hey, hi Sisira. Good evening.
hi. Good evening. Yeah. Okay. Let's start our class by revising the yesterday's class once. So, is my screen visible?
yes, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So, yesterday we have learned about what is cloud computing and economies of scale. What are the cloud computing services which are available, and what is capex, opex, and advantages of cloud computing. So coming to cloud computing, what is cloud computing? It's just that you are renting the resources, using them, and pay for what you have used. So this is the definition. You are just renting the resources, that is on demand. You will be accessing the resources, computing resources via internet. So it's just as I've told you, it's pay as you go, and we'll be having the concept of fog computing, which will be used by the cloud service providers to ensure that each and every service is highly available. So some of the cloud providers are Microsoft Azure, GCP, AWS. And coming to economies of scale, this is the ability to do the things efficiently at the lower cost per unit. So when will you able to do things at lower cost per unit? When you have large amount of customers with you, and whenever the production is also more, then you will be able to produce the quantities in lower cost per unit. So coming to cloud computing services, these are the three services which are available, and the other one is on premises. So in on premises, everything will be managed by you, starting from network to applications. Everything will be managed by you. In infrastructure as a service, only the hardware infrastructure, as the name specifies, only the hardware will be maintained by the cloud provider, and the other things will be taken care by us. And coming to platform as a service, everything including this OS, middleware, and runtime will be managed by the cloud service provider. Only the application and data will be managed by us. And coming to software as a service, everything starting from networking to applications, everything will be managed by the cloud service provider. Only thing you need to have is internet to access that software. So these are all the things, the definitions and everything. So coming to examples, we know these are the examples, and the capex is and opex. So capex is the initial investment you do to start a business. So it is just adding assets to your business, and operating expenditure is the amount you need to run your business, like raw materials and giving salaries to the employees. These all come under the operational operating expenditure. So these are the examples of capex and opex. So coming to the advantages of cloud, these are the main terms. Whenever you are working in the cloud environment, you will mostly see this words coming in picture. So high availability is, it is the ability to keep the services up and running for most of the time. So coming to scalability, it is the ability. So ability to increase or decrease the resources is termed as scalability. For example, we have taken a human can be scalable in terms of height, and scale out and scale up also we have defined. Scale out, what is scale out? So if you are externally adding the resources, then it is referred to as scale out. What is scaling up is you are increasing the capacity of the available resource, that is referred to as scale up. Elasticity is automation of scalability, precisely, is called as elasticity. So fault tolerance is, it is the ability to remain up and running even in case of a failure. So this is the day two, which has happened yesterday. So now let's start today's class. Let me share today's document. So, guys, I just wanted to know if I'm going any fast or is it okay? The pace is okay, or you want me to go slow?
Okay. This is okay.
Yeah, okay. So, is my screen visible to you?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, today we will be learning about the types of clouds available and what is virtualization, and also what is a location and region in terms of Azure, and what is this Azure storage redundancy, and what are the redundancy options available within the Azure. So, coming to types of cloud. So, can anyone of you tell me how many types of clouds are available?
Three types of cloud code.
Yeah. So, most of us think that there are only three types of clouds available, but in reality, there are four types of clouds available. These are the fourth one is being community cloud. So actually, why most of us think that only three clouds are available is community cloud. It cannot be available to all the users. So this community cloud will be available only to few set of users, only few communities. So we will discuss about it clearly one by one. So as I've told you, there are four main types of clouds. Those are private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. But out of four of this, only three types of clouds are available to all kinds of users. Only this first three types of clouds are available to all kinds of users. This community cloud will be available only to the few kinds of users. So now let's learn in detail about this public cloud. So all the cloud service providers which we know, like Azure, AWS, GCP, all of this come under the public cloud. So public cloud will be owned by a cloud service provider. Only your cloud provider is responsible for owning the entire infrastructure inside the cloud public cloud environment. So the entire hardware, the infrastructure will be owned by the cloud service provider. So you are not responsible for any infrastructure. They themselves, the cloud service provider, will provide you the infrastructure. It provides the resources and services to multiple organizations and users. The infrastructure provided by this cloud service provider can be accessed by multiple organizations and multiple users. So, how will you connect to this public cloud? So, how will you connect to this public cloud? Can anyone of you tell? So, how are you going to connect to Azure?
Using internet.
Yes, using internet via portal, you will be connecting to it. So, all we need to have is an internet connection to connect to the portal. So, once you connect, you can access the resources and use the services you need. With the public cloud, there is no local hardware to manage or to keep up to date. So you yourself are not going to manage any hardware. The cloud service provider is responsible for you to manage the hardware. That means if our organization is using a public cloud, is there any need for us to manage hardware? If our organization is using public cloud, do they have any hardware on premises? Guys, if our organization is using public cloud, is there any need for us to maintain any infrastructure on premises?
No, not
No,
required.
no.
Yes. Everything like servers, storage devices, etc., are located at the cloud providers' data centers. So the cloud, the infrastructure like servers, storage devices, all this will be located at the cloud providers' data centers. So we do not own anything. Every infrastructure like servers and data storage devices will be owned by the cloud providers. So a common use case for this public cloud is if you want to host any blog or any website, it will be difficult for you to manage the hardware. But we have an option to get the hardware from the public cloud and deploy our website. So this is when you'll be using public cloud. If at all you want to host any blog or a website, then what you do, you just go to the public cloud. You will choose one among the service providers, cloud service providers like Azure or AWS or GCP, and there you will host your web application. So coming to characteristics of the public cloud. So coming to ownership, who owns the infrastructure in the public cloud? Can anyone of you tell me who owns the infrastructure? Is it the cloud provider or we?
Cloud
Cloud
provider.
provider.
Cloud provider.
Yeah. So in case of public cloud, we this cloud provider will own the infrastructure. The ownership lies with the cloud provider, and we use the resources provided by the cloud provider. For example, if I want a server or a database or a storage or a networking component, what will I do? I will just contact a public cloud and then get all the resources from the cloud provider and make use of them. So coming to end users, so who are the users who are using this public cloud? Who will be able to access all the resources provided by the public cloud? Who will be able to access all the resources provided by the public cloud?
Organization.
Yes, users like us.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it limited to a single organization, or many users, many organizations can use this public cloud?
Many.
Any
Yes.
Many.
So,
organization.
so it is not, public cloud is not limited to a single user or a single organization. Any number of users, any number of organizations can use this public cloud. So, second. Yeah. So, how to use this public cloud? Across the globe, anyone can create an account and use the services provided by the service provider. You are able to hear me, no?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, coming to the public access. Just now we have discussed that anyone across the globe can sign up and use the services. That means public. Anyone can use this public cloud. So, coming to skills. So, as many of you have opened that Azure portal and see have seen it. So, for just creating an account in Azure, do you require any skill? Nothing, nothing more technical. Anyone who is having internet connection can just open that portal and create an account, use it, and procure the resources and use it. It's no more like more technical, more depth technical knowledge is required to work with this public cloud. So now coming to a private cloud. So what is a private cloud? Uh, Private cloud is your organization's network. See, before the concept of cloud has been introduced, there used to be the same concept. I mean, the cloud kind of concept is there in our organizations. So, did anyone of you know the concept of virtualization, VMware, Hyper-V?
Yes.
So, what is it? So, what is that virtualization?
Within the single machine, we can execute multiple applications.
Yeah, not exactly. Not exactly. I mean, yeah, we are near to that. So, what
Virtual.
exactly? this VMware is doing.
We can
VMware.
install
Suppose
multiple OS.
sup- suppose I'm in India, so my client system is in the USA. So by using
Yeah,
VM, so I can connect to my client's mission, and I can log in and I can work on the mission. So that is how VM
yeah,
works.
yeah. That is a virtual
Single
machine.
host can be maintained by
Yes.
multiple VM.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So now let's discuss in detail about what is this virtualization. So in traditional data centers approach, when cloud did not exist, we used to have only one physical server. If you see, when organizations are maintaining the traditional data centers, how the infrastructure used to be is like they used to have only one single physical machine. So what they used to do on top of this physical machine, they used to install an operating system and then a file system, and they used to install the services ports. So what has happened, and on top of it they'll be running many applications. So what is happening here, we are having a single file system, a single operating system, and we are going to install multiple applications on the same server. So we used to have front end and server, database, everything. Front end of the application, database of the application, and the other softwares related to the application in the same, they all used to be hosted on the same server. So what is the problem if you are using in this way? So what are the drawbacks of this way? Can anyone of you tell me?
Extra work, extra resources, more time.
Yeah. So what happens is, as we are seeing here, all the applications are being hosted on the same server. So what happens here is, all the applications may fight for the resources. You will be having only few ports also. So we might also get the port conflicts issues. So in order to resolve all these problems, what we can do is assign each server. So here what are we doing? We are assigning each server to a single application. So this application will have its own thing, this application will have its own server, and this application is having its own server. So what by seeing this architecture, what organizations have thought is, we will be maintaining each server for each application. But what happens if you maintain each server for each applications? You will get, first drawback is, the number of servers will increase. So if you increase the number of servers, what happens, the space to accommodate them also increases. You should also maintain cooling units to cool down the heat generated by these machines. I'm not talking about this. I'm just telling that. So after seeing this architecture, what companies have thought is, so I want each application needs a single server. So what if you maintain like that, each application a single server? For this application you will maintain a single server. For this application you will maintain a single server. For this application you will maintain a single server. So if you go on increasing servers like this, you will get a space accommodation issues, and also you need to maintain some individual cooling units which cools the systems. Then the companies came up with the concept of virtualization using a software called as VMware or Hyper-V. So we can implement the concept of virtualization using the software VMware or Hyper-V. So what happens here is, on top of the see, we'll be having a single server only, but on top of the server you will be having the operating system. On top of this operating system, you will be installing the virtualization software. So this virtualization software can be either VMware or Hyper-V. So how the concept of virtualization is being implemented is, we will take a server with huge configuration. So the server will have huge configuration, that is with more number of CPUs, RAM and storage. On top of this server, you will be installing operating system, and on top of this, you will be installing the virtualization software. So now I want a new server. So all the setup is available to you. The physical server is available, on top of it operating system is available, on top of this virtualization software is available. So someone comes in your team, someone comes and asks you that he will ask you that I need a development server with 4 CPUs and 8 GBs of RAM. What will I do now? Based upon his requirement, I will create a virtual machine. That is, logically, you are creating them a separate machine. But physically, this logical machine is present on a single server. These all are the logical machines. Logically, they are separate machines, but physically, everything is coming under this physical machine. So, if someone comes to me and asks me to create a development server with their requirement, what will I do now is, based upon the underlying physical hardware, I will create a logical system with the required configuration. So, this is the concept of private cloud, wherein we are dividing the existing server into multiple virtual machines. So physically, we are having only a single server with a huge configuration, and logically, we are dividing that server into multiple virtual machines. So a private cloud is owned and operated. So this is the concept of virtualization clear now. So what is happening in this virtualization? We are having only a single physical server, but on top of it, logically, we are dividing this system into multiple systems, and we are calling this multiple systems as virtual machines. Okay. So virtualization enables the hardware resources of a single computer to be divided into multiple virtual computers called as virtual machines. Is the concept of virtualization clear to you guys?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So now, then let's come back to this concept of private cloud. So this private cloud is owned and operated by your organization that uses the resources from the cloud. So what is this private cloud? In the public cloud, who are owning and maintaining the infrastructure? It is owned and maintained by the cloud service provider. But in private cloud, your organization itself will set up a cloud kind of thing. So your organization itself will have its own data center and provide the self-service access to the compute resources to the users within the organization. So here what happens, your organization itself will set up a data center and it will provide you the resources. So so what happens, sometimes in some cases what happens is, your organization itself can act as a cloud service providers. So what happens, if your organization is having its own data center, but what is happening is, it's not using its resources up to the mark. So there are few resources which are available, they are not being used by your organization. So in that case, what you can do is, you can give us rent. So what you will be doing, you will be giving the resources which are available to you and which are not being used by you. You will be providing them to the other organizations, and you will be collecting rent from them. Okay. So here, who remains the owner of the infrastructure? So who is owning the infrastructure in the private cloud?
Organization.
Organization.
Yes. So organization itself is owning the infrastructure. So that's the reason organization itself remains the owner, and organization is entirely responsible for the operation of services they provide. So a private cloud can provide the cloud functionality to the external customers as well. That is the thing which I have discussed. um, See, yeah. So, what is the use case? Where are you going to use this private cloud? For example, you have created a website. So, for that website, on the back end, you are using the Aadhaar card data. So, coming to this Aadhaar card data, this is the critical data. So, you can't take the Aadhaar card data and store it in the storage service which is present in the other countries. So this Aadhaar card is a critical data. It is limited within your country. So you always try to store the critical information within your country premises. So that is where this private cloud comes into the picture. So, and also if you want to store some government related things, such as Aadhaar card information or any voter ID information like this, which are specific to a country. So, country specific
Uh,
information can be stored in the storage which is present in the.
how can I ask one question actually?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, how is this related to the course? I know
So,
you are
how is. Yeah.
how you are going through the various clouds and various days and all these things, right? I don't think so. If a data person who is going into the data warehousing or the data will be able to do this unless he is going into there are two specific roles into this. One is not with the data who is maintaining the cloud versions and all that, and the other one is not but the ETL and the ELT or the various data storage and the ADFs and all the other things. So how is
So,
this related to the course actually?
so whatever you learn here need not be implemented in your role. So, whatever your role expecting, I mean, roles may differ. These are the basic concepts which should be known by every individual who is working on cloud. So if you join an organization, you will be assigned a role. So basically you should understand the minimum requirements. So where is your data present? If someone comes and asks you where is your data, you are working in a project and they'll be asking you where is your data present. So you should be able to answer, is the data present in the public cloud, is the data present in the private cloud, or you
Is
guys are using
the
hybrid model.
no, the I totally agree with this. The person who the architect and the person who there are two different roles, right? One is not the architecture role, and the other one is not. If you ask me, right, here is the data lake, right, and or the SQL server on the cloud or on the this one, and I'm least bother where it is or whether it is in the private or in the cloud or anyway, as long as I have the access and doing the certain bits or something. So
See, if you want to remain at the same level, you need not gain knowledge. But if you want to excel in the roles which you take up, if you want to slowly move to an architect position, so then you should have all these basics. At least you should be in a condition to understand what are they speaking about. So if an architect comes to you and talk about this public and private clouds, so you should be in a position to understand his words. You should be able to understand the concepts. So it's a simple thing. If someone comes and asks you,
No,
so which cloud are you
it is
using in your
indeed
product?
actually. No, it is indeed actually. It is not that
Yeah,
very complicated or anything like that. So investing so much time into this or something, we can move on to the real-time scenarios.
See,
definitely.
Shaik,
Since you are
Shaik,
experienced,
Shaik, no. One second, Sirsha. Shaik, no, they
yeah,
don't want to spend this time to explain us. They want to train us as an expert. That's the reason they are spending and they are knowledging us.
Okay,
Okay.
if you guys are
Yeah.
happy, then I am happy. Yeah,
No,
that's
no.
fine.
If you don't want to know, like, listen, just keep it in record and go up, go on and move away.
yeah, Vijay.
That's very
See,
simple one.
Shay, the thing is
Yeah.
that, see, these are now the students are from many backgrounds. So each of you are from different backgrounds. Some might be 10 years
Yes.
experience, some might be 1 year experience, and some might be freshers. So this course is
Yes.
designed in such a way that it is feasible for each of you. So each of you should
Yes.
gain some of the knowledge from it. So if you know
Yes.
anything, it's not same with the other person. So some might know and some might not know. So that's the reason we are just covering
Yes.
the basics. And check, you need not worry. It's just only for 2 3 days we'll be covering the basics, and after that most probably 5 days, and after that definitely we'll be moving into the technical things. So yeah.
Yeah.
So if
Please,
you know
please.
all of this, it's okay. It's pretty good. It's very good that you know all of this. But it's for the persons who are freshers to it, and who are new to the concept of cloud and Azure. Okay. So let's continue.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Sirisha. Please continue.
Yeah. So another scenario for the public cloud is when your organization has the data which cannot be kept in the public cloud. So when you keep your data in the cloud, there might be some legal reasons. So you can't take the government data and put it in the public cloud because it's not a legal thing to do. And also coming to the medical data. So in our India, see, people don't consider this medical data to be um, a critical information. But when you come to some, when you see other countries, they take this medical data to be a confidential thing. They don't want to share that data with others. They don't want that medical data to be exposed publicly. So in this kind of cases, what you will be doing, you will be storing all those critical data in the private cloud. That is, you will be storing all that kind of data within your organization's own data center. So these are the characteristics of private cloud. So coming to ownership, who owns the infrastructure in the private cloud? Can anyone of you tell me who owns the infrastructure here in the private cloud?
Organization.
Organization.
The
Yes,
cloud
organization
itself, I think.
itself. Yeah, organization itself will own the infrastructure here. So who will be the users in the private cloud? So a private cloud is only for a particular organization. Your organization will create a private cloud for your own organization. So it will be used only by your organization. So private cloud, when coming to public cloud, you can have multiple organizations using that public cloud. But whereas in private cloud, only single organization, that is the organization which have created that public cloud, will only use that data center. I mean that private cloud. Then coming to public access. So as I have told you, other organizations won't be able to use your cloud. Only your organization people who are authorized to use that cloud will only be able to access this private cloud. And coming to skills, so here the deep technical knowledge is required. Of course, if your organization itself wants to create a private cloud, there need to be a technical persons who are able to create, set up, and manage and maintain that infrastructure. So here, if you are maintaining a private cloud, you need persons to take care of that infrastructure. Okay, is it clear? So to summarize, what is this private cloud? Private cloud is private to a particular organization, only the persons within that organization can access this private cloud. So coming to this hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is combination of public cloud as well as a private cloud. So an example scenario for this is, if you are maintaining a website which contains the other information. So what happens here? See, you will host your website in the public cloud, but the secure data, which is critical data, that kind of data, what you'll do, you will be hosting that in the private cloud. Okay. So same thing. The example which I have taken for the private cloud, that is the same example which I have taken here. So hybrid cloud is just the combination of public cloud and private cloud. So and also the other use cases, if your organization wants to take backup, so what will they do? And if the backup is in tbs, many tbs or so much of data is present, what will they do? They will take the backup of it and store it in the public cloud. What are you doing? You're just storing the backup in the public cloud, but everything is present in the private cloud. Only the backup, you are taking the backup of the system and just storing that backup in the public cloud as a backup. So it's just the combination of public and private clouds. So coming to community cloud, I've told you, so most of us don't know what is this community cloud. So, this community cloud provides the cloud computing services to a group of organizations. So, here, group of organizations will have the access. So, community clouds are designed for organizations working on a joint project. So, if two of the organizations want to combinedly work on a particular project, then they opt for this community cloud. So it is not for end users like us. So it is only for the group of people. Say, for example, some of the scientists are working on a global warming information. So that is, they are analyzing issues regarding the global warming. So what happens here? All the scientists across the globe want to share the analysis among them. For this, what do they need? They need an infrastructure which enables them to share the analysis among the scientists present all over the globe. For this, what they do, they will set up a cloud. Only the team working on that particular issue will be having access to it. So what happens here? So as I've told you, scientists from all over the globe are working on a certain project, that is global warming project. So what is the requirement? They need an infrastructure. They need a platform where all the scientists from all over the globe can connect. So that is where this community cloud comes into the picture. They need an infrastructure, and also they need that infrastructure. They need that platform in such a way that it should be accessible only by those particular team. So here, what is it happening? We are only, the access is being restricted to only certain community. That is, only certain amount of scientists across the globe are able to access that particular cloud. So in such use cases, this community cloud will be coming into the picture. So when you take this community cloud, it will be available only for the group of organizations or individuals. So all of us, all of the users won't be able to access that particular cloud. It is just for particular users. So okay, are we good to regarding this public, private, and community cloud? So let me summarize this. Public cloud is where you can just go, take the resources, run the resources, use them, and give it back. Private cloud, in private cloud, what you yourself, your organization will invest on the infrastructure. They will create a data center and use the resources from them. Coming to hybrid cloud, it is a combination of both public and private cloud. And community cloud, it is just refined. If two or more organizations or two or more people or communities want a particular platform that is specifically created for them, then you go for this community cloud. So is it clear for all, or do anyone have any doubts?
This I mean this data factory, data lake will not work in private cloud, right?
What can you come again?
The data lake or the data factory, it won't work in private cloud, right?
No, no, no. See, data lake and data factory. See, data factory. This data factory is a service which is explicitly being provided by Azure. So this data
Okay.
factory service is present only in Azure. So what is Azure? Is it a private cloud or public cloud?
Yeah, it's a public cloud. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
So
just asking. So
if
if
you
they want any private organization, they have to go their own, like ETL tool or something.
see, most of the organizations, they do not like, only if you consider this banking sector. So this banking sector, for them everything is important. So only few banking projects create their own tools, but most of the businesses, like if you take this retail businesses and everywhere in many projects, most 98% all of the projects will use predefined tools, the tools which are being made available by the cloud service providers. Only few organizations will create tools by themselves and use those tools.
Yeah, yeah, fine.
Only organizations like bank, for them everything is important. So what will they do? They don't trust this other services, and they themselves build services for them and use. Hello.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
is it
got it.
clear?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Any doubts, or are we good to continue to the next topic? So can I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, okay. Now, what is a location and what is region? These are the terms which are layman terms. So, if someone asks you, for example, if you are staying in Hyderabad, so under what region will it come? It will come under Telangana. So, if someone is staying in Vizag, under what region will it come? It will come under Andhra. If it's Kadapa, it will come under Rayalaseema. So, these are the regions. So in the same way, Azure also has regions wherein it will maintain the data centers. So here let's see about like what is location and region in terms of Azure. The Azure data centers are located around the world in strategic places that meets the customer demands. So these areas are known as Azure regions. So coming to this, what this point says is they will Azure has its data centers, but where they are keeping these data centers, where are they creating these data centers is in the strategic places. So for example, um, if you take a mm, should I say, so if you take um, a store like how to tell you, mm, mm, so if I take a computer store and keep it in a remote village, so will it run? It won't run, because the people in the village are not in requirement of a computer. They are in require, what do they require? They require seeds, pesticides. That is the requirement. So based upon the requirement, we need to so this Azure guys, based upon the requirement, they will set up the data centers. So here if you see, there are many data centers here. Why? Because there are many users here. So based on the users and where the customers are expecting, more demand, there will set up this data centers. So wherever these data centers are present, those places are referred to as Azure regions. So Azure regions are where the data centers are present. Here you can see these are all the regions. These are the different regions where the data centers are present.
One second. I have one question.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
we created a region? Because what is the role of the region in Azure database?
Yeah, I'll tell you that. So we'll be covering that. Wait few minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So what is the need for learning, where is the region and all those? Definitely we are having a need to know this thing. I'll be covering it. By end of the class you'll be knowing. So the other thing is, Azure regions are placed at the distance of at least 300 to 400 kilometers apart from each other. So this region, from, see, in India we have three regions: West India, Central India and South India. So the distance between these regions will at least they'll maintain a distance of 300 to 400 kilometers. So Azure operates around 20 plus regions around the world. So it has 20 plus regions around the world. Geographic expansion is priority for Azure because it enables the customer to achieve higher performance, and it supports their requirement and preferences regarding the data location. So someone has asked me that why this regions, why are we learning this concept of region? So what is happening here is, see, we are staying in India. If we are staying in India and we store our data in this West Europe region, there will be some latency for you to read the data. So that is the reason, based upon the business. So if your business is in West Europe, it's better for you to set up all your resources in the West Europe, because the time required for you to access those resources will be less when compared to, so if your business is present in West Europe and you host all your applications in the Central India, the time, the latency will be more. See, more in the sense it won't be more, but only those milliseconds also. So if you host all the resources wherever your business is present, then the performance will be higher. So that is the reason you should know. So if you are trying to open a business in the India and all your customers are also from India, then it will be good if you host all your services in India centers, in Indian data centers. Did you get it? Someone have asked me like why are these regions? So if your business is in Central US and all your customers are from Central US, then it's better for you to host all your services in the Central US region itself. So if you host those services in the India, then it will take time for the customers to access those resources. So that is the reason behind knowing what are the regions and why regions. So someone has asked me, is it okay? Did I justify your question?
How much? I think if we choose the India region, so how much pay we have to pay? Means the cost of the US and between the India cost. If
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
choose the
Yes. That is also one of the other aspect. So whenever you are procuring resources, the things you need to keep in your mind is cost, time taken to access those resources, and also few other things which we will be discussing. So these are the main things: how much cost, where are your resources, how much time will it take to access those resources, ex- and few other things you need to keep in mind while procuring the resources from the cloud service provider. Okay. So cost also
okay.
varies from region to region. So here in India the cost might be less for few resources. In here the cost might, in Central US the cost might be less for few resources, but in India the cost might be high for few resources, wherein the same resources will be for less cost in Central US. So based upon the locations also, so for example you are procuring Azure Data Factory. For Data Factory, Indian cost will be different and US cost will be different. I mean, if you host that data factory service in central US, the cost will be different, and if you host the same thing in India, the cost will be different. So this all things will be taken care by your data architect. So data architect is the one who will select like what are the services do our project need, and where to host all these services and all those things. Okay, is it okay? Shall we continue?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah. So this is completed. Now let's come to the concept of Azure storage redundancy. Now let's discuss about how Azure makes sure that our data is highly available and also ensures the durability of the data as well. So yesterday we have covered how do this cloud ensures the high availability. How do they tell us that we will make your services highly available? So what will they use to make the services highly available? Yesterday we have covered this concept. What is the concept this cloud is using to make the resources highly available?
Replication, redundancy.
Yes, replication and redundancy. Yes. So through redundancy, the cloud is making us highly availability as a feature. So when you create any file or if you store any data in our storage account, the data gets replicated across different data centers. So whenever you are going to store any data in the cloud, it won't be store it won't be stored as only single copy. At least three copies of any data will be maintained. So any data you keep in the cloud, that is any data you store in your storage account, three copies of it will be maintained for sure. Uh, So, whenever we create a file or store any data in the storage account, the data gets replicated across the different data centers in the primary region or the secondary region, depending upon the option that you have chosen while creating the storage account. So, okay, let me cover it. So,
Means
now,
primary. One question is the what is the primary and secondary
yes,
storage
yes,
means like.
yes, yes, that is what I'm going to tell you now. So, what is
Okay.
this primary and secondary region? I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you. In few minutes, I'll tell you that. So as you can see, so here, as you can see on the screen, where you are actually defining the redundancy of your data. So someone have asked me like, why are we knowing about the regions? So whenever you are going to create any resource, it will ask you the region. In which region are you willing to host this service? So here is where I've just given a screenshot for you. From Monday, we'll open that Azure portal and see everything. For now, just for your reference, I have just taken a screenshot and telling you. So here, so you actually define how you want your data to be replicated. So here you can see the option of redundancy. So locally redundant. Here, how many you can see? One, two, three, four. These are the four ways in which you can replicate your data. So while creating a storage account, you have this option named as redundancy. This is a screenshot where I'm creating a storage account. So while creating the storage account, I have an option named redundancy. In this option, you have four sub options. Here, as we can see, we are having four sub options to choose from. These are the things on which we are going to talk in detail about. So you can ask me, why do you need to enable this redundancy option? As already we have discussed. So to make this highly available thing available to us, this redundancy is this redundancy option is required. So let's say my data is stored in a data center. What if some issue comes in the data center? What if there is a network outage in my data center? What if there is a flooding in that area where the data center is present? I need to recover the data. I need to recover my data. So that is the scenario where this redundancy plays a high importance. So if there is any kind of failure in the data center, or if there is any occurrence of a natural calamity in that particular data center area, and if you need to recover your data which is present in the data center, what you need to have, you should have the redundant copies available in the different data centers. So that is the scenario where this redundancy plays a high importance. So Azure actually stores multiple copies of your data so that it is protected from such unplanned events, which can be anything. Maybe your hardware failure, or a network failure, or a outage, or it can be a natural disaster also, like flooding. So, this redundancy option ensures that your storage account meets its availability and durability target, even in case of failure. So, basically, what is this redundancy doing is it is providing you high availability. So, someone has asked me, like, what is this primary region and secondary region? Let's say I'm working in US and I have my Azure account set up in US. So I have told I mean, whenever I'm creating a service, then you will be selecting this region. So I'm staying in US, and I also selected my region to be US while creating a resource. So I want to replicate my data in UK to ensure much higher availability. So why do I want to replicate my data in UK? Why? Because if there is any failure in US data centers, I have a critical application. I want it to be available every time. So if there is any failure in US data center also, now what can I do? I can connect to the UK data center and take my data. So that is the reason we are maintaining the redundancy. So I have told you the scenario. What am I doing? First thing, I am while creating the store. Let's take the example of creating a storage account. I have created my storage account in US region. So initially, what I am doing, I am deploying my storage account in the US region. So this becomes my primary location. So where am I maintaining the replication of the primary data? I want to maintain this replication in the UK. That means now the replication, the copy of the data will become my secondary region. The region where I keep my data initially, I mean the original data, the place where I keep my original data is considered as a primary region. The place where I maintain the copies of the data, original data, will be my secondary region. That is the replication of the original data will be maintained in the secondary region. So someone have asked me, like, what is secondary and primary region? Did you get the clarity on it?
Yeah, got it.
At the same time, you can access both primary and the secondary, or in the event of primary down, then only we can access
So
secondary.
both options we
So,
have to choose primary or secondary.
so I'll tell you, these are all where that concept will be covered. So these are all the options. Now you have asked questions like, will I be able to access the primary and secondary region simultaneously, or only in the event where the primary region fails, then only will I be able to access the secondary region? So all these questions will be clarified once we discuss this concepts of LRS, GRS, these all things. Okay. So now, uh, coming to now, we have got clarity on what is primary region and what is secondary region. So redundancy in primary region is subdivided into local redundant storage and zone redundant storage. So here I've told you redundancy in primary region is subdivided into local redundant storage and zone redundant storage, and redundancy in secondary region is subdivided into geo redundant storage and geozone redundant storage. So what is this local redundant storage and zone redundant storage, and these all let's see in the diagram. Local redundant storage, this is the diagram related to the local redundant storage. Local redundant, when you talk about this you basically have a primary region where your data is stored. So for me, in the example which I have told you, which is the primary region? I've told you the example of US and UK, no? So which will be my primary region? Is it UK or US?
Yes.
US.
So yeah. So my data is stored in US in a single data center. In the local redundant storage, what happens is whenever you store your data, the data gets stored in a single data center. So in the single data center, you will maintain 3 copies of the data. So this is basically the architecture of the local redundant storage. So my data is there in a single data center in the primary region. So if there is any issue with the data center, then I'll probably won't be able to recover my data. See, I have all my 3 copies in the same data center. So what happens here? If this data center goes down, so probably I won't be able to get back my data. So definitely, it is on it is a kind of risk for me if I store only in the single data center, all the 3 copies in the single data center. So, uh, one second. So coming to this zone, did all of you get this? In local redundant storage, what happens is you'll be having only a single data center. Inside the single data center itself, you will be maintaining the 3 copies of data. When coming to this zone redundant storage, what is the drawback of this local redundant storage? You'll be having only single data center. So that is the reason to overcome this drawback. Here what happens is in the primary region itself. So if you take India as my primary region, in India primary region itself, I will keep the copies of data in different data centers. First copy I will be maintaining in a one data center, second copy I will be maintaining in second other data center, and third copy in the different data centers. So when you compare these both, here in the local redundant storage, in the single data center I'm maintaining all 3 copies. When coming to the zone redundant storage, I will be maintaining the copies, one copy in one data center. So if this data center goes down, what will I do? I'll connect they will I mean, you need not take care, like if this data center goes, you should connect to this data center. If this data center goes down, you should connect to this data center. You need not do manually all those things. So if this data center goes down, automatically the cloud provider itself will connect you to this data centers, one among these 2 data centers. So is it okay? Anyone? Is it okay for everyone? Did everyone understand this?
Sister, I have a question.
Yeah.
So in redundant storage, we can keep
Yes.
our data in different data centers in the same region. For example, like
Yes.
Delhi, Mumbai, and Isaac somewhere. Okay. What about in
Yeah.
local?
What about in local?
Yes, yes,
So that yeah. See here, what you are doing? You are keeping your data in Delhi, Mumbai, and Vizag. These are different locations within the same
yes,
region. So what is happening
yes,
here? If they are fledged in Vizag, they will directly connect you to any one of the data centers available in Mumbai or Delhi.
yes.
But in case of local redundant storage, you are just storing your data in any one among Vizag, Delhi, or Mumbai. Only in one
It,
one data center you will be
oh,
storing. So if you are storing your data
okay.
center in Vizag, data center. In local redundant storage, what you'll do, you'll just store your data in Vizag. So if you store the
Mm-hmm.
data in the Vizag, floods will come, your data center is gone, your data is also gone. You won't be able to recover your data.
Okay.
So to overcome this
Okay.
drawback, you are coming to the zone redundant storage. So what kind of data you will be storing in this local redundant storage is, if your data is reversible, like even if the data goes, you can again collect that data. So that is your requirement. Then you can easily go to this local redundant storage. So if the data is less important for you, or if the data can be recollected again, even if the data goes off, then you can go for this local redundant storage. So if you want your data to be more secure when compared to this local redundant storage, then you can come to the zone redundant storage. Okay.
Okay. So one more question. Earlier we were discussed wherever we deploy our data
Yeah, yeah.
data. So that is a specific region for our data center. So if you want to, we can select for like second data center like like a UK Western something you mentioned. So in the zone
Yes, yes.
redundant storage, can we select our secondary storage secondary region?
No, no, no. For secondary regions, we are having the other things. So here, these are the things which are. These are all the things when see, that is the reason I have tell you. In terms in primary region, only if you want to maintain the redundancy in primary region, you will opt one among these two based upon the importance of your data. So if you want to maintain your data in two regions, two different regions, for example, if I want to maintain my data in India and in UK, so these are two different regions. Then the concept of these two comes into the picture: geo redundant storage and geo zone redundant storage. Okay.
Got it now.
So these two are specific to particular region. Only in one region you are storing your data. But if you want, so this is what are the drawbacks of this primary only storing your data in a single region is. So if there is any disaster in the region itself, so if there is any disaster in India, so now in that case you won't be able to get back the data now if you use LRS or GRS. So what if there is a natural disaster in the region itself? So entire India itself got affected. Then you won't be able to get back the data. So that is the drawback of these two. So then we come to this, the concept of redundancy in secondary region. So that is where we have this GRS and geo redundant storage. So here, so GRS and RAGRS are different. So one of you have asked me like, will I be able to access from both primary region and secondary region? The thing is that in GRS stands for geo redundant storage. In this, what happens is only if the primary region is down, then only you will be able to access the data from the secondary region. But if you take RAGRS, RA stands for read access geo redundant storage. So if you consider this RAGRS, then you will be able to read both from primary region as well as the secondary region. So basically, what is happening in this geo redundant storage is that in the primary region, in a single data center, you will be storing the 3 copies. In the secondary region, in a single data center, you will be storing 3 copies. So if there is any failure in the primary region, then you will access the data from the secondary region in case of geo redundant storage. But in case of read access geo redundant storage, read access, as the name specifies, you will be able to read the data both from the primary region as well as the secondary region. But the write access will only be given to the primary region. For the secondary region, you will be able to just read. You will be only having the read access from the secondary region. Okay? Did you get it?
Yes.
So again, what's the drawback is still now what? It is very important data for you. One second. Yeah. So now coming to this geo zone redundant storage, in previous one if you check the primary region, you're having a single data center. So if there is any problem within the data center, your primary region will have to go to the secondary region. So if there is any problem in this primary data center, what we'll go to the second region to access the data, to fetch the data. So since the primary region itself, uh, okay, so that is the what is the drawback here is, if this goes down we should go to the secondary region, but your data is very important and you want more security. So what you do here is this geo zone redundant storage, it is the combination of this and this. So what happens here is, in the primary region, you will be maintaining the copies of data in three different data centers. So here what you are doing, in a single data center itself, you are maintaining three copies of the data. But when coming to GeoZone redundant storage, you are maintaining the three copies in the three different data centers. So if there is any failure in this data center, it won't go to the secondary region. You will be accessing the data among these two data centers. So you won't touch the secondary region unless and until this primary region goes down entirely. All the data centers present in the primary region, if they goes down, then only you will come to the secondary region. So this is more and more secure. So did you get it? Is it clear for all of you?
Yes, yes.
So everything is clearly shown in the diagram. See here, there is a single data center. In the single data center, you are maintaining three copies of the data. When here in the primary region, you will be having multiple data centers. So you will be taking three data centers, and each of the copy will be maintained in single data center. So when you talk about all this in cost perspective, Ella, definitely, since you are maintaining only three copies, that too in the same data center, this will be the least expensive when compared to all of this. So and gradually the cost will increase. This is the least cost. Next, this is the less. This is the less, and this is the highest one. So you have to opt for one among these options based upon your requirement. If you have a data which you can replicate yourself easily, in that case you can opt for this local redundant storage. So otherwise, if you think it is very critical for you, then based upon your requirement you can go for one among these. One thing to note here is that in case of Azure Data Lake Gen 2, we have the option of this Geo Zone Redundant Storage. You don't have this Geo Zone Redundant Storage option available for Blob Storage and Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 1. So here we can see the redundancy here. Since I'm here, I'm creating Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So only for Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, you will be having this option. For the others like blob storage and gen 1, you won't be having the option of geo redundant storage. So we need to make sure, in case if we are working with Azure Data Lake Gen 2, then only we will be having this option. So okay, that's all for today. You guys have any doubts, you can.
Do you have class on weekends?
No, only on weekdays.
Okay.
So if at all it's necessary at the end, then we will talk about it. But as of now, no classes on weekends, just only on weekdays. That too 1 hour
Okay.
only. It's being late. From Monday, definitely we won't cross 1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah. So any doubts? Gaurav, you have raised your hand. Do you have any doubt?
No, ma'am. Okay. One thing, if you choose GeoJohn
Yeah.
redundant storage, so in this the primary region, this primary region is different. Means different region means Copy of one region copy to
I
only
did not.
above. Hello.
Yeah, I did not get your question. Can you repeat it, Gaurav?
Actually, if we select only primary region, so in this primary region, three copy of this of the data keep in the primary region. Okay, but if
Hmm.
we select the geo zone storage, so in this region no, inbuilt primary region already in this. Okay, means
Hmm.
primary region already in the geo redundant storage. So this copy one and this copy two and this copy three.
Hmm.
Okay, so this region is different, or means different region or the same regions.
See, a region, a region can have many data centers. So as I've told you, so in Indian region, so sorry, West India is a region. So in West
Yes.
India, you will be having many data centers. In South India, you will be having many data centers. A region will contain many data centers.
Okay. Okay.
Location is where the data center is present. Region is the collection of locations.
Okay. 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 Okay.
So did you get it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So primary in a single region, multiple data centers are present.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, any more doubts?
No, I'm thinking.
Yeah, is there anyone new today?
Yes. Yes. I'm new.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself? Whoever is
Actually,
attending class today, can those guys introduce themselves?
actually, my name is Gaurav, and I belong to Delhi. So I am looking so class of the Azure. So today I connect with the this institute. So I got a link from this Azure classes. So that's why I am
Okay, okay.
joining.
How
I am
many years of
actually
experience do you have?
I have a 8 year experience. Last and a 6 year experience in a data analyst, and last 2 years working on a data scientist.
Okay, okay, okay. So Sudhakar, are you new or did you attend the class previously? This is your first class, Sudhakar. Sudhakar, are you there? Okay, I think Sudhakar is not available. So what
Shishra,
about other? Oh yeah, Sudhakar,
Shishra, I'm
are
there.
you there?
Sudhakar.
Yeah, yeah.
Yesterday,
Yeah,
yesterday I
you
had
attended?
attended the class. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine, Sudhakar then. So everyone are
Okay.
yeah from yesterday itself. Yeah, nice, nice.
Okay.
So okay, have a good day. Good night, everyone. That's end our class. It's already been 9:21. Good night, everyone. Thank you.